name's Mark Thompson, come from Rossendale, and this is my 69 Bay. Yeah, so basically I'm a barber. I have a barber shop in Haslingden in Rossendale, and that's where my love for, I think it's nostalgia more than anything else, not just the air-cooled, it's just old classics. So in the shop I've got old 1940s dentist chairs as barber's chairs, but old cinema seats, old projectors, old lighting actually, old studio lighting from theatres, just sort of like really cool things knocking around the shop, and like posters, hot rod posters. You know, so it's not all aimed at, you know, just air-cooled and cars. It's sensitive, you know, it's cool and, you know, hot roddy. And I think like obviously my Instagram was like the mod barber. People say, oh, you wear leather jackets, you're not a real mod. But it's not basically about just being, you know, wearing suede shoes, driving a Lambretta, although there's a Lambretta in the shop. You know, it's a way of life as well. You know, it's just a cool place, you know, to be in the shop, and it's my man cave, and I do some haircuts Thursday to Friday. That's it basically. I've always liked air-cooled vehicles. My first real daily in the early 80s was an air-cooled Beetle, one owner 1303. Had that quite a while. As I progressed, I've always had old cars. I've always driven old cars. Never really driven modern cars, but lately got more into the air-cooled scene. Previous to the Bay, I've had hot rods, air-cooled hot rods, not normal Beetles, but I wanted something different, maybe a camper, maybe a day van, so that's why I went and bought the Bay. It was going to be a 2-year period build. But in the end, once it was taken off to Dennis's over in Skelmersdale, lockdown came and it had to stay there. So basically we worked on it, or Dennis worked on it, and a couple of the guys up there worked on it. Fitted the hydro. It was experimental hydro, first one that had been done by Dennis. So we used it as a test vehicle, and then we got the interior done. So everything was basically done during lockdown, a lot sooner than I anticipated, which was good and bad, because I had to obviously pay to have it done, but it was good to get it all done and dusted and be able to drive it. Then obviously when lockdown lifted and there was car shows again, eventually I was able to take it down to shows. First show being Wheels Up North. Sometimes think, oh, I need to sell it, and then I put another modification on. I think, no, I'm going to keep it. So it's just a work in motion, really. When I bought the bus, it was just a rolling shell. There was an engine, but not a usable engine. No interior, all the original running gear, no headliner, there's absolutely nothing. So basically it was a shell with an unusable engine on its original 14-inch wheels. And that's how it went to Dennis's over in Skelmersdale. And then we basically changed it all, put it on some steel wheels. I had an engine built, a friend of mine, Gaz, he built the engine for me. So while I was up at Dennis's, Gaz built the engine. Interior, I bought five Italian cowhides. So it's all leather interior. The wheels that are on it now, the steel wheels, they're another upgrade. So I had 15-inch steels, now I've got 16-inch steels on it. They're off a 1953 Volkswagen truck, quite a rare wheel. Uprated discs on the front. Because usually when you're rolling down the road, people say, look at that old car there, we'll just pull out. So you don't have any braking with the old brakes. So it's got Willwood discs on the front. It's got handmade exhaust, stainless steel exhaust, made by a guy down south. So that was custom made. And like I say, the hydro system, that's probably about it really. The paintwork is exactly as I got it. So I've done nothing to the paint except for the sign writing. So the sign writing was an idea I had I'd seen on a split window bus from the 60s. So in California, they used to use split windows to ferry people from the hotel to the airport and vice versa. And I saw one, and it was for the Wanderlust Hotel. And it was sign written down the side, and I just thought it'd be a really cool idea, with it being an original bus, to copy that idea onto the bay, especially with it being a California bay as well. So my friend Phil Appleyard, who was a pinstriper, he did the pinstriping for me. So that's been on there about 3 years now, so it's aging really well. So it looks like part of the bus now. Why I like the patina look? I think really, one, it just really appeals to me. Two, you don't have to clean it a lot when you go to a show and shine. And probably three, when you're doing a project, it takes out the need for paint. Paint is probably one of the most expensive things when you're doing a restore. I can't afford to pay someone to do a really expensive paint job. So if I go down the patina path, I can then spend the money on the engineering side. So a good engine, good running gear, good suspension. That's where I like to spend the money rather than paint. It's a solid bus. I'm confident in it. Like I say, I would drive it anywhere, and that's what keeps me on the air-cooled side, really. And I just think they look cool. The buses look cool. The splits look cool. The Beetles look cool, especially the early Beetles. You know, the 60s and 50s Beetles look cool. The Carmans are just ultra cool. The early Porsches are just mega cool. You know, they're just so cool. You know. It's not particularly a VW. I mean, like, there's an American car, I think it's called Corvair, and that's an air-cooled rear-engine American car. I mean, like, if one of those came up at decent money, you know, I'd be interested, you know, possibly getting one. I'm not too sure, but you know, it's not particularly VW, the brand themselves. It's just the air-cooled. You know, it's the noise they make. You know, you can always tell when an air-cooled's passing you or starting up, or, you know. I think what makes it personally is the involvement I've had in it. So I think in the past I've bought cars and they've already been done. They've been done by other people. Whereas this, because I bought it as a rolling shell, and obviously I've not physically done the work myself, I've commissioned the work to be done, and it's all my idea that's gone into it. So, you know, it's my idea for the upholstery, Dennis's idea for the hydro. The engine was my choice. The wheels were my choice, and the sign writing, it just feels part of me now. And that's when people say, oh, you can't sell, you know, it's your thing, you know. And I think if I ever did come to sell, I think it'd be difficult to sell, because people know, oh, that's Mark's Wanderlust bus, you know. Everyone knows it as the Wanderlust bus now, you know, so, yeah. Especially when you go to, like, the day events like Wheels Up North. I can sit in it, and it's a comfortable place to be, and go across to Marley's, grab a pizza, have a coffee in the back. You know, it's just a nice place to be and sit and relax and, you know, watch other people at shows, you know, jump out, go and look at the cars, jump back in, you know, so, yeah. I think I'd go a long way to try and replace it. I think I would regret it if I sold it. Because I'd be thinking, oh, I wish I'd sold that. I was never going to plan to keep it for this long, but every time I get in it, especially coming up here today, because I've not driven it for a few weeks, it's just a pleasure to drive, and it's fun to drive, and it just puts a smile on your face, you know, and it's like you don't have to be going fast down the motorway, and it's just a really nice thing. And I've got to where I've got with it. I've had it 3 years, I've owned it 3 years now, and I think I'm going to be keeping it, I think. Yeah, without a doubt.